You want to go downstairs? To eat? You want to go downstairs? Hi everybody, Elliot here. This is my third contest I'm entering today. I want to go ahead and do this one for Chris Propfe's Musically Obsessed channel. He's just hit the 200 subscriber mark, and congratulations, Chris. Chris has got a great channel. If you're not already subscribing to it, I highly recommend it. Chris does a lot in his channel. He's got very eclectic tastes, everything from heavy metal to country and everything in between, all around. He's really got some great taste in music, and he highlights a lot of stuff. He also is an excellent guitar player and singer, and occasionally you can hear him playing a song. It could be Neil Diamond, it could be Johnny Cash, it could be some alt rock song from the 90s. Really good, talented, and so check his channel out. And if you don't already, but I bet you already do. That's great if you do. Now his competition, or not really competition, but it's his contest. He'll have a drawing. Is He's got 5 questions for us, and I'm going to try to answer those. First, I always like to tell what's playing in the background. You may have already recognized Aretha. That's Aretha Franklin, Aretha Now, from 1968 on Atlantic Records. It's got Think on it. Say a Little Prayer, which is the Burt Bacharach song. It's got a Sam Cooke song, You Send Me. Everybody knows that one. It's got a lot of good stuff on it. Unfortunately, this is a dollar being fine. It's got a fair amount of surface noise. I don't hear as much on this side 2 play now. Don't hear as much on it as I did on side 1. But it's still listenable. I mean, it doesn't, not so much that it distracts significantly from the enjoyment of the record. So I rated a VG minus in my rating system. I think I'm pretty conservative. It's not a G plus or G, but it's enough. You need to know there's surface noise on it when you take a look at it and decide whether you want to put it for a spin or not. Very good album. Now, Chris's first one was your first musical memory. Quickly, when I saw that, I thought of a memory, and I think it's well, I thought of my Uncle Thomas. Now, my Uncle Thomas passed away when I was very young, and before he passed away, we used to go over to his house, and they did something we didn't do at our house. This was during the time when everybody just had black and white TVs. There might have been one person in town that might have had a color television. Maybe not even then yet. Maybe it'd be a few more years later before I remember going over to somebody's house and seeing color TV for the first time. But we had black and white TVs. When they watched TV, they turned the lights off. We didn't turn the lights off at our house to watch TV. But everybody got quiet. They turned the lights off and everybody got quiet. And Sunday nights, we saw the FBI and the Ed Sullivan Show. And the Ed Sullivan Show always featured great music. And so I remember, and I couldn't tell you what particular artist I saw, because this would have been 64, 65, somewhere right in there. But I just remember, now his sons, my cousins, Jimmy and Tommy, were a couple years and 4 or 5 years older than me, still are. And my brother's a couple of years older than me. So when we got over there on a Sunday night, I was the baby, of the children there. And so they were all too big, but I wasn't too big to crawl into my Uncle Thomas's lap, and he held me while we watched the Ed Sullivan Show and listened to the music on the Ed Sullivan Show. So that's a really nice memory of my Uncle Thomas. As I say, he passed away when I was very young, not too many years after that. And so that's my musical memory. Okay, number 2 is if you were going to sing a song in karaoke, uh, what would it be? Well, I wouldn't be very comfortable doing that. I thought about a couple things, but then I remembered when I was in college, I had to take a class. I wasn't a theater or drama major, but I was a communications major, and one of the requirements was that basic drama class that you had to take. So I was in there with mostly drama majors, and with a few of us communications majors as well in there. And so, I actually kind of enjoyed the class sometimes because we had to do improv, and I'm a natural cut up sometimes, and so we would have to do improv. But one of the things we had to do was do a recitation from memory, and I struggled with that. But then I was playing one day in my room. I was playing this Jimmy Buffett album, a great album, "Living and Dying in Three-Quarters Time," and it's got a Lord Buckley. Lord Buckley was a blues singer. Composition called "God's Own Drunk," and it's about a 6-minute song, basically a recitation set to a blues, 12-bar blues, and I could say it. I knew the whole thing. I practiced a little while and went into class. And of course, I didn't tell them I got this from an album. This is an old. I just got up there and said, "Well, like I told you once before, ain't no drinking, man. I tried it once and it got me highly irregular, and I swore I'd never do it again. But my brother-in-law wanted me to watch his steel while he went in town to vote," and went on and on. And so if I had to get up there, if you put a gun to my head at a karaoke club or something, I would say, "Okay, pull up Jimmy Buffett, God's Own Drunk," and I could recite that to the musical backing of that. So Jimmy Buffett's God's Own Drunk. Okay, and then Chris wanted us to do 3 Desert Island albums. And anytime you ask somebody Desert Island albums, I think you're going to get a different answer every time. I don't think probably anybody picks the same few albums every time. It's just whatever, the mood strikes for you. Okay, all right. I'll go with the Grateful Dead's Reckoning. I love this acoustic album. Came out, about 1981, okay? And it's all acoustic, and it's got, it's classic songs. They do Dire Wolf. They do a classic Grateful Dead song. They do the old George Jones classic, "The Race Is On." They do Elizabeth Cotton, the Piedmont Blues Players song, "Oh, It Ain't No Lie." "Oh, Baby, It Ain't No Lie." They do "It Must Have Been the Roses," Grateful Dead song. Traditional song, "Dark Hollow," actually written by a guy named Bill Browning from West Virginia, but it always sounds like a traditional song. They do "China Doll," their song. "Monkey and the Engineer," a Jesse Fuller song, which I've never been able to find Jesse Fuller's version recorded anywhere. I'm sure it's there somewhere, but I love that. They do the traditional "Jackaroo," which they've always done. "Deep Ellum Blues," Rosalie McFall, that's a Charlie Monroe, not a Bill Monroe, the Charlie Monroe song. Traditional song, "On the Road Again," and of course their great song, "Ripple," which really should always be done acoustically as far as I'm concerned. It's a beautiful song. But I'll go with that Grateful Dead album. And it's hard to beat this live album from Little Feat, "Waiting for Columbus." It's got, just "Fat Man in the Bathtub," maybe my favorite Little Feat song. "All That You Dream," "Oh Atlanta," "Old Folks Boogie," and that's just on side 1. Let's see. That side 3's got "Dixie Chicken," "Rocket in My Pocket." Side 4's got "Willin'," maybe the best truck driving song ever written. "Apolitical Blues," "Sailing Shoes," "Feet Don't Fail Me Now." A great, great live album. And if I was on a desert island, I'd probably have the blues some of the time, and I would need to listen to some Robert Johnson. And this, of course, is the king of the Delta blues singers. Treasures of Classic Jazz, Robert Johnson. And he only made 2 recordings in his whole life. And this and Volume 2 are the complete recordings. Just the most gripping, emotional performer I think there's ever been. Robert Johnson. If you can't feel it listening to Robert Johnson, nothing's going to move you. Okay. Then number 4 was an album cover you could gaze at for hours. Okay, I thought about maybe one of the Little Feat albums, and they have such great artwork. But then I remembered the Newgrass Revival's 1979 album, Barron County. And as you can see, there's just so much detail in this album that not on the inside, but on the outside, there's just so much detail there. Burger Death, Drink Onion, 100% pure. You can half read part of it and read part of it. There's a rabbit selling tickets there and everything. So that's just got a lot of detail. Newgrass Revival, Barron County. And number 5 was the best closing track on an album. Thumbed through my records and I said, when I got here, I stopped. I said, yep, that's it. An almost perfect album from Jackson Browne. Okay. This is Late for the Sky, 1974. I was 15 and 16 years old when this album came out. Turned 16 that year. And, talk about teenage angst and him expressing it, but not in a headbanger way, but in a more reflective way. David Lindley's on this album. He does such great work with the slide and fiddle and electric guitar. But he closes this album out with Before the Deluge. And that's just a perfect song. This is a true album in that each song is arranged perfectly to fit together with the others. And Before the Deluge is it's a perfect way to end that album. Okay, so ran a little longer than I thought it would on this one. Chris, this is a really good contest you've got here. It made me think about it and brought back some good memories of my Uncle Thomas and some other things too. So I appreciate it a whole lot, you doing this contest, and I'll remind everybody to be kind to your neighbor. And we're all neighbors, so let's love one another.